And you know, I have to say one thing about wishes is every child has a different wish, and that's where folks like our newest reality celebrity over here, Chad Prather, comes in, because Chad, so many people know and love you by your social media. That's where our generations are. It's where our younger and our youth is, and you have such an ability to make an impact on people, and you do it through humor, and I know you've touched many lives in the same manner.
Thought I pulled the microphone. This guy over here, look what he's doing.
Gotta love a good sound guy over here.
Thanks, Monty.
Yeah, thanks, Monty.
Hey, put that on there again. I liked it better.
Yeah. Are you doing it? That's perfect. It sounds like I've been sucking helium. All right, that's enough.
Yeah, so with friends like these, right? No, yeah, well, it is, and that's kind of what I was wanting to do, is build a platform for influence, and that's kind of what social media became for me, as an opportunity to impact people's lives, and it's quite a platform. It's interesting. I mean, when you got millions of people watching these videos, and when I started doing those videos, I had a production assistant on a TV show that I was working on, and she said, "You're always doing these humor videos. Why don't you put them out there for a broader audience?" And this was a few years ago. And I said, "I don't think anybody's going to watch them." And she said, "Well, I think you're wrong." She said, "Just try it." And sure enough, the thing took off, and a lot of people started watching them. So it's a very humbling thing, and you have to be real careful, because so many people are listening to your words. You want to say it the right way. And I have people all the time who say, you know, "Are you reading these things, or is it scripted? Is there a teleprompter?" And they're not. They're not scripted. Usually I just have a thought, and I pull over on the side of the road or into a driveway or a parking lot somewhere, and it's kind of my therapy to run my mouth to talk to the phone. It's a lot cheaper than going to a therapist, I can tell you that. And but through that, so you know, it's connected me with a lot of people. One of them is a guy that I tour with by the name of Cowboy Bill Martin. Cowboy Bill started an organization about 5 years ago called Cowboys Who Care. And so I'm a board member with Cowboys Who Care, and we just simply, wherever we travel, we go to a children's clinic, and we give cowboy hats to kids with cancer and other life-threatening diseases. We're not raising money for treatment. We're not trying to find cures. We're just putting smiles on people's faces. And, you know, they're going through, as he says, I mean, it's one of the hardest things you can imagine going through. And you go in there, we believe that instead of wearing a wig, kids would much rather wear a cowboy hat, because every kid wants to be a cowboy. And so to date, we've given away about 6,000 Resistol hats. And,
wow.
Yeah, it's been a real blessing. We're the ones who get the blessing out of it. But Resistol donates the hats. It's so funny to watch the camaraderie in the Western industry. I'm an American hat guy. I'm sponsored by American Hats. I wear American hats. And American says, "You know what? You go give away those Resistol hats, and you promote Resistol, because it's all about those kids." And I love seeing that in guys like that. And so we're blessed to be doing it. But cowboyswhocare.org, actually, if you want to check it out. And we're doing a hospital visit this Friday, as a matter of fact, here.
Chad, what a wonderful tie-in it is to have both you and Frank here on the stage, because your hearts are both for our youth and our children. And, you know, that's the rodeo family, just like you said, American Hat, Resistol, working together for the betterment of children.
Bring them all in, every single person, every single company, because it's giving back. It's giving back faith, family. You're inspiring and motivating.
Right.
Well, and it's amazing, because you don't realize, whether it's through a gift or a wish or humor or whatever the case may be, how you're going to touch a life. And I know that for me, and I told him I was gonna ask him about this, but for me, when I first found Chad on Facebook, I don't even know that it was so much humor. It was an inspirational video. You touched on, because there's so many. Bullying is such a big thing, and self-esteem is such a big thing. And being a Christian and loving the Lord, I know how much our value is worth and our value is in. And you touched on it in a video about what your worth is. And I wanted you to share that, because I think that's a message that needs to continually grow and go out for
It'll
others
cost you
to hear.
$20.
I was going to say, Becky, you heard him.
I know.
earlier.
I'll give it to him afterward.
I do take
Honey,
casino
remember, he
chips,
used $20.
whatever
Pick it
you
up
got
after
on
the
you,
show.
jewelry. But we're going to have to take a collection. If this is going to be church, then we're going to have to pass a hat. No, you know, I don't make any secrets about it, and have never hidden it, but over the years I've dealt with depression and things like that, and I've found ways to battle depression and beat it. And so, you know, I count myself very fortunate in that regard, because it is an ongoing thing that you have to deal with. And so there's certain things that you learn from Sunday school when you were a kid, and that's one of those messages. It certainly wasn't original to me, but in that video, I took a $20 bill, and I said, this $20 bill is worth $20. The government gives it that value. It gives it that worth. Now, you don't know what that $20 bill's been through. Maybe somebody's rolled it up and snorted drugs with it. Maybe it's been used to fund a terrorist attack. Maybe it was used in a prostitution ring. You don't know. Maybe there was human trafficking. That $20 bill has been through a lot. You can take that $20 bill and rip it. No matter what you do, that you can crumble it up, wad it up, wrinkle it up, step on it. You can put it in the mud. But it's still worth $20. No matter what it's been through, no matter what's done to it, it's still worth $20. And the reason is because a higher authority gave it that value. You can't take the value away from it. And so our lives are the same way. You've been through a lot of things. I've been through a lot of things. There's things I'm ashamed of. There's things that I don't ever want anybody to find out about it. And no matter what's been done to me or what I have done, I still have value. And nothing can take that away from me because there is a higher authority. There's a God that created me and gave me that value. So no matter what happens, I'm still worth something. And that's where we all are. And since doing that, thank you. Since doing that video, I can't tell you how many people have sent me messages and said, I hear what you're saying, but I still feel worthless. And I just don't feel like there's any worth to my life. And it's opened up a door to try to encourage people a little bit. You got to be real careful with that. But, I try to be an encourager. I had somebody that sent me a message 2 weeks ago, and they said, I put a gun in my mouth, and I pulled the trigger, and the gun misfired. And the first thing I did was I opened up my computer or my tablet, and your video, about $20, was on there, and it changed my life. So those are the testimonies that I love to hear, and it's amazing how God uses those things to influence people.
Well, I met Chad last year at a fashion show, and I didn't know who he was. He was this wild, extravagant voice and person, and I got to know him throughout the 5 days. And I contacted him later. I was kind of in a little rut. I came to him not even thinking he was going to answer my message. And I was like, okay, Chad, this may sound a little silly. I represent myself. They're saying that I'm kind of where I'm going to be. I can't go any higher. And how do you do it? You probably have 100,000 people helping you out and representing you. Can I keep going, or am I kind of done? And he answered that message and several other messages without even really knowing me, touched my life and give me this drive and energy to keep going. This gentleman is absolutely phenomenal, and so is Frank. I mean, think about all the lives that they're touching each and every day.
Can I get my mother on the phone and you repeat that? Because she doubts it.
Oh.
But you know what? And I've kept up with her career. I mean, over the last year, it's been a friendship that we've developed, and she was doing the fashion show, so it's great to see her with more clothes on. It's so. A little while ago, she was over there. She goes, hey, I got more clothes on than I did the last time you saw me. And I was like, somebody might hear that and think something funny. But
That
she's
was very
amazing
innocent.
and beautiful soul
Bobby Jean,
inside
you're
and
turning
out.
red.
And I know we had a great time at that fashion show. I miss doing it. Somebody last year, they said, "Are you really the MC for the fashion show over at the Gold Buckle Zone?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And they said, "Why would you do something like that?" I said, "Are you kidding me? I've got 30 of the most gorgeous women in Las Vegas backstage, and I'm the only dude." I'm telling you, it's the best gig in town. And so we did, 5 nights, 6 nights? Yeah, it was a great show. It was a lot of fun.
But somebody had to do it, right?
Somebody had to do it, and I sacrificed.
Twist his arm, huh?
Well, and they called you Frank first, but you were unavailable, right? Okay, all right, we knew this.
I was backstage with blinders on, like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, sure.
No, it was a lot of fun. And a great friendship has developed out of that. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, well, and thank you, because not just my life have you touched and inspired, but thousands of people, you have done the same too.
We were talking about it a little while ago because you guys had sent me some messages, and I don't always see the messages that come to me on Facebook because there's a lot, and sometimes Facebook will hide things from you. It's a weird deal, but they had sent some messages and I didn't see them. And I tell them, I said, I don't always go check like the junk folder because that's where the hate mail is, and it'll get you depressed real fast. You ever notice how people can say 10 positive things to you, but you hang on to the one negative? And so I
think we were
said,
talking about that.
somebody said, you know, it must be nice to have everybody love you the way that they do. And I was like, if you spent one day in my inbox, I promise you would change your opinion about that. It's funny how people get mad at words. They really get upset with the words you say if they disagree with you. And we live in an age of offendedness. Everybody's so hypersensitive to everything. You can't tell a joke anymore because inevitably somebody's got to be the butt of the joke and they don't like it. Well, tough.
Yes.
That girl's over there shocking people. I'm going to buy one of those. I wonder if they'll let me on the plane. That lady's stealing stuff from the recycle spoon. This is a kleptomaniac's dream in here.
Well, and you know, it's what is also really, you were talking about being offended and the positives and the negatives, and we talk about that a lot. I talk with my daughter and so forth about it takes one positive to replace one negative, 7 positives to replace it. And I know that in your career, Frank, I mean, your organization blesses. You bless by laughter and comedy. But there's always going to be the naysayers, and you just got to persevere. Did you encounter that when you first came up? Or?
Oh, yeah. It was very difficult to, in fact, start the foundation. And I've got fellow police officers here from California that I know. And by the way, thank you, gentlemen, for showing up in your service.
He's wearing an
too.
American hat.
Yep. But and even in police training, the thing we're taught in our academy is to get that negative, change it to a positive. And I use that in starting the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So many people said, you can't do this, it'll never work. There was nothing like this in the world. And obviously we kept taking those negatives, changing them to positives. I want to touch on something on our first official wish. I was the first president and CEO, but I never took a salary because all the money I wanted to go to the foundation. I had a job, I was a police officer. But I told our board that someday we're going to be granting wishes all over the world, and they all laughed at me except one young lady who then was my girlfriend, and I got my wish 3 years later when she said I do. So that's my wish. Now come on, ladies, that's usually an aw. Come on. Aw. My wife Kitty is in the audience.
Welcome, Kitty.
Yes, welcome, Kitty. Well, Frank, I had a question, and you probably touched on it here a little bit right now, but how long did it actually take from the time that you granted that very first little boy his wings to you started to see everything come together for your concept?
We had our first official wish, so we started the paperwork. We were granted, it took 6 months to get our 501c3, and that was in November. And then in March of 1981, we granted our first official wish. A little boy, again, leukemia, terminal leukemia, 7 years old, wanted to go to Disneyland, which took a lot of effort to open up those doors for Disneyland. And again, that perseverance, they kept saying no, they didn't know who we were. We kept taking that negative as a positive. And when Disney finally opened the doors for us, now 36 years later, one of the biggest sponsors of Make-A-Wish Foundation, literally billions of dollars.
Wow.
But because of that first wish that we got national press, NBC Dateline picked up because who is this foundation? What are they doing? We've never heard anything like this. And that was our release. Within 3 years following that, in 1983, we now started doing chapters all over the United States. And because of the media, because of folks like you that gave us the recognition we needed.
Wow, it's an amazing story, and it's amazing how far you've come. Are you still hands-on, active in it, or are you
No, I'm no longer part of management. I was Wish ambassador for 34 years, 35 years. And because of this movie, I had to resign a position as a board member, possible conflict of interest. I'm actually going to maybe make a few dollars. But the movie is a period piece, 1950 to 1980. There's very little about Make-A-Wish in it. It's all the events of my life, my childhood, and then meeting the little boy that inspired the whole thing, that because of him, what it is today.
Well, you know, earlier I was visiting with Frank before we came on, and I spent close to 20 years in the state of New Mexico and had a trophy buckle business, and we employed some of the very finest Navajo silversmiths in the nation. And one particular silversmith and his family, I was telling Frank, this was such a big deal, and we were all so thrilled. We did send-off parties for them. Their little boy was terminal with cancer, and the local Make-A-Wish Foundation through Farmington, New Mexico, got together with Make-A-Wish, and they sent him and the entire family to Disney World in Orlando. And it was the first time that any of them had ever been to an airport and stepped on a plane. And so it was a memory of a lifetime, Frank.
Oh, yeah, and again, Make-A-Wish, it's not just for the child, it's for the family. Because, and when there's a wish, if it's brother, sister, mom, dad, grandma, and they all want to go, it's for the whole family, because the family has gone through the same thing the child is going through. So if it's a travel wish, for example, we want them to forget about the price of a hot dog, hotel, everything else. Just go out as a family and have a good time. And sometimes we call it the power of a wish, because you said terminal in this case. And we changed our mission about 20 years ago to children with life-threatening illnesses, because through the grace of God, modern medicine, 70% of the children are now surviving, where before it was all of the children were
Wow,
cancer.
amen.
Amazing.
But we call it a power of a wish. A doctor will say, listen, you've got to do this wish in a couple months because the child's not going to survive. The child goes on a wish, comes back, and goes in remission. The doctors cannot figure it out. They have no idea. I can figure it out. The child says, you know what? I had a great time. I got other stuff to do. Let's forget about this disease and get on with living. I speak all over the country now. I have so many people on a meet and greet afterwards come up, and my biggest reward is they'll come up, introduce themselves, and say, I'm a wish child. And this wish child is now an adult with kids of their own. Yeah.
Now, Frank, don't you have a book that just recently came out?
Yes, I do have a book that was released last month. It's called Wish Man, of all things. And it's available on Amazon.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, and Chad, you said you were going to the hospitals here pretty soon.